Okay, Nick back again. From the last video I've done on the subject of spirituality, you should be able to see that there should be, the spiritual process is pretty much universal. There's aspects of it in all faiths, and also in those who have no faith but are trying to find a way of improving themselves in one way or another. From this, I get the point of view that it just makes sense that Omnism is a very good attitude to take, because there's so many similarities between each and every single path of theological philosophy and practice that you can't really put a cigarette paper between them, really, if you actually look at it objectively. It's only when you see things from the point of view of being set apart, because someone said you're set apart, and you've got to be set apart in this way, that way, and the other way, that it causes the problems. I've probably got more in common with some Muslim down the road, as well as a Christian down the other road, as well as an atheist down another road, than you might think. I don't see the differences. I see that we get sculpted by our experiences and by the people we meet and what we read and the rest of that. And all these things serve to limit our perspective. They stop us from seeing the connectedness between us as an individual and all of the other dynamics and political dynamics in the complexity of the world. And that's kind of like a bit of a problem, because many of the borders between one thing and another, or Christian and pagan, for instance, is remarkably artificial and stupid. Now, I don't know whether you saw the post-apocalyptic war movie called The Book of Eli. Quite fun. I think it's actually based on a couple of passages from the Book of Samuel, strangely enough. But you got it's a story about it's a post-apocalyptic world, and there's one guy who's got the last remaining King James Bible, and there's some bad guys who are after him to try and get it. In the end, it turns out that the guy was blind and the book was in Braille and no one else could read it apart from him, so so the bad guys couldn't get their hands on it. But before that scene, some guy says to the bad guy, why do you want this thing? It's only a book. And he says, don't be stupid, that's not a book, it's a weapon. And I thought that was a very powerful line, because essentially it's showing that religious text is used as a tool of control when people in power explain it in certain particular ways. And therefore we have to be aware that the same is true with communication and conversation in religious and spiritual groups, on the smaller scale as well. Alright, there's plenty of good people of each and every single different religious persuasion in the entire world. But I think we have to learn how to recognize where the good is and where the bad is, because there's the ideals of faith, okay, and then there's what humans are. And humans are organic. And organic creatures are full of organic emotions, organic reactions, organic fear, organic baggage, organic debris here and there. Most of us, even if we're trying to look after our health one way or another, we're falling short of it, so we're always going to be physically imperfect. There's lots of issues going on, okay? So that's why it's imperative that when we're dealing with other people who are in a spiritual environment, we have not necessarily our boundaries, our walls in place when we go into these places because we're terrified, but we just have our awareness as to where the toxicity and the psychological toxicity and the political toxicity can actually be, and also thinking carefully about how we are being swayed by the language being used. And sometimes you might even have a part of your mind which is rational and observing you being swayed, saying to yourself, hang on a second, this isn't right. So then you have to move away from that environment temporarily and work out how much of the things being communicated to you is for your actual objective betterment. In what way is that going to help things in a practical sense with, let's say, health, money, work, family, image, appearance, reputation, property, presence of mind, skill development for the future, and keeping yourself safe? Now, most of the issues of faith latch on to the issue of presence of mind, and also steering your mind in directions. I want to say right directions, but it's only a right direction, taking into account if the information given to you is going to lead you in a right direction. There are good directions which is good for you and provides you with independence, clarity of thought, and the ability to interact with your peers better. And I would say being a person who is of faith and has loads of baggage, such as I had before I started my official faith journey, you come into the faith still with your baggage, and it takes a long time to corrode it and get rid of it, and end up in a state of greater mental clarity and greater ability to achieve the things that you want to in life for yourself and for other people. Okay? So I just want you to be careful, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to be healthy, and I want you to move forward with your life in a good way, and to receive the right kind of support for yourself. And do forgive me for being a shouty, ranty, ravey individual, which I am from time to time. Okay, forgive that. But also try and look at some of the caution that I've been expressing with my words, and realize that it's coming from a place of love and concern and consideration and compassion, and hope that you will have a happy experience and a good experience moving into the future. Alright? Speak to you in a bit.